Good morning.
Good morning.
How you doing?
Good.
How you guys doing?
Morning. I'm Michael.
I'm Daniel.
And this is Running Around Jerusalem.
Excellent. What are we doing here at 7 in the morning?
Well, what we're going to be doing today is we're starting at this beautiful outlook where you can see all of Jerusalem spread out in front of you. We're going to head down in that direction, down a road called Derech Havron, or Hebron Road.
Sounds cool.
We're going to take that to the old train station.
Excellent.
And enjoy the nice running path that goes on the old train tracks. And
Amazing.
That's essentially our workout. It's going to be about a 30-minute workout or so. And
Sounds
we're
cool.
going to be basically exploring what is the significance of Jerusalem.
Yep.
All right, ready?
You guys come run with us.
Let's
Check
go.
us out on our socials. Check us out on our socials.
Yeah, that's important too.
So Michael, where are we? What are we looking at? What are we doing up here?
So we're just south of the city.
Right.
And this is an amazing viewpoint because you have all of ancient Jerusalem laid out right in front of you. Now, the interesting thing is when we talk about ancient Jerusalem,
Yeah.
most people think about the old city, which is
Right.
what you're going to see
The wall bit over there.
in the walls over
Yeah.
there with the golden dome kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the funny thing is that's not actually the oldest part of all of Jerusalem.
Uh-huh.
And the oldest part is a slope outside the city walls, kind of in our direction.
In the valley? Right.
No, leading down to the valley, on the side of the valley.
Okay.
Right, the slope.
Yeah.
We actually call that today the city of David.
Right, okay.
Okay, so that's where King David originally conquered.
Right.
And it's also where the city started 4,000 years ago.
I see.
And later it's going to expand more to the north and to the west, which is where the old city is.
Sits now. Right.
So that's the first reason I love this outlook.
Yeah.
The second is because this is the same general view we get today as what Abraham saw 4,000 years ago. What am I talking about, right?
Right.
What's the most important, a famous story with Abraham that you know?
Binding of Isaac.
Exactly, right? He's commanded by God
Right.
to get up and go and take his son Isaac up for a sacrifice.
Right.
So Abraham doesn't know where he's going to, but he's getting up and he's living at the south, which is way down there.
To our left.
And
Yeah.
exactly. And the Bible says he gets up and he raised up his eyes and he saw the place from afar after he had been journeying a little while. Well, if you're coming from that direction, where's the first place from which you can see where the old city is today?
Right.
This ridge, somewhere on this ridge. You're
Right.
getting the same general view of what Abraham saw 4,000 years ago.
Amazing. And it would have been, what, just like a deserty hill at that point, right?
So it's interesting, right? When we think about Abraham coming here, we imagine him coming to exactly what you said, this empty place.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. There was a city on that slope.
Amazing.
It mentions in the Bible there was already a city here, which they called Shalem.
Right.
We also have extra biblical sources that tell us about there being a city right here.
Right. Okay, so there was a city, it was called Shalem.
Right, and so what I was saying was that we know that there's a city here also from extra biblical sources.
Right.
And in Egypt, also from around the time of Abraham, 4,000 years ago, we found these texts, which are really essentially ancient voodoo dolls.
Okay,
Where
that's
you
cool.
write the name of your enemy or the city and you smash it if you don't like these people.
Right, okay.
And we found ones with the name Shalem, Jerusalem,
Right.
on it. So we know the city exists 4,000 years ago at the time of Abraham. And that's the first mentioning we have of it.
Right. And it was an important city, a major trade city? It was what's
So the funny thing is, no. It was a little backwater.
Really?
Yeah. And in Jerusalem, if you want to think about big cities at the time, or even going into David's time, right?
Right.
Jerusalem is not yet important when
Interesting.
David conquers this place
Right.
3,000 years ago. If you were living at that point and someone said to you Jerusalem, you'd be like, where?
Right.
What were the main cities at the time?
Okay.
Lachish, Chatzor.
Right.
These are the big cities. Even Gat later on. These are the major cities from that time period.
I see.
But have you ever heard of Chatzor?
I mean,
You
I know
ever
where-
heard of Lachish.
It's not one of the more famous ones, definitely.
Not really, but Jerusalem, everyone's heard about.
Sure.
And this is really what I want us to talk about and see
Right.
as we run through Jerusalem this morning, which is how is it that this city became important? I mean, think about it. Is there a major water source here in Jerusalem? Are we on a river?
No.
Are we on a lake?
No. We're up a
Are
mountain.
we on the sea?
No. Up a mountain.
We are in the middle of the mountains, but not only that,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of we're on the edge of the desert.
Right. Yeah. Desert to the south of us. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's no major water source.
I see.
What about an international trade route? We certainly have an international trade route here, right? We're about to turn on to, in a moment, Derech Hebron Road, right? Main road today, going down to the city of Hebron,
Right.
which is why it's called Derech Hebron.
So Hebron already existed back there as well?
Yes,
Okay. So there was a road interconnecting these two old cities?
yes. So certainly this road is a major trade route, right?
Right.
No,
No. Oh, okay.
this is
Got
more of
excited
a,
there for a second.
it's more of a local road.
Okay.
This was not the international highway. The international highway went more towards the coast along
Right.
Israel.
Towards the sea, boats, Europe, that kind of thing, right?
Not exactly on the coast,
Right.
but on a much more passable area
I see.
than
Right, why
mountains
would you want to
that
go
you
up a
have.
mountain if you don't need to?
Exactly.
I see
So
what you're saying.
you're not on a major trade route. There's no major water source. There is no reason in the world
This city
that
becomes
this should
important.
be an important city. Yet, in the 3,000 years since King David conquered this place,
Right.
at least 39 armies have fought over Jerusalem. And if you go to anyone in the world today, they
Right.
probably have heard of the city of Jerusalem.
Yeah, I would say so. Right.
So,
So it's really only the spiritual or religious background of Jerusalem that makes it important. Meaning if there would have been no religious importance to any religion here, this city may still be a backwater to it.
essentially, really,
Right.
there are two reasons. That's one of the reasons, the
Okay.
spirituality of it, right?
Yeah.
And that's going to start in many ways
Wiking David.
with King David.
Right.
Okay, David is the one who conquers this place and says, okay, this is going to be the capital of my kingdom.
Right.
Okay, meaning of the kingdom of the Israelites and the Jews
Uh-huh.
later on.
Right.
So that's going to be our political capital, but he also turns it into the spiritual capital.
Right.
He brings the Ark of the Covenant here to Jerusalem.
Right.
And he says, if you want to make your pilgrimage, you're not going to go to other places. You're going to come here to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of it.
Right.
He's the first person really to make this a political capital. And the other interesting thing is, throughout these 3,000 years of history, really it's only at the times when you've had some type of Israelite or Jewish kingdom here that Jerusalem is the political capital.
Right.
When the Muslims controlled here for 1,300 years
Right. Ottoman Empire.
and before,
And before.
right? Ottomans, the very end of the Muslim rule, the last
Right.
400 years of it,
Right.
But they ruled for 1,300 years.
Yeah.
When they came here, when the Muslims, after they first conquered the land of
Jerusalem,
Israel,
yeah.
not just Jerusalem, but the land of Israel,
Right.
is they built another city to be their administrative capital,
Right.
called Ramla.
Uh-huh.
So this was not the political capital of any place except for essentially the Jews.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
But David, when he brings the Ark of the Covenant here, and he makes it into the spiritual capital, you're also heralding in the kingdom of the Davidic dynasty, which is what's going to see during that time period. Most of the Bible is either written about or in Jerusalem.
Right. So.
And you
yeah.
can't do better than, the best-selling book of all time.
Not bad. Not bad.
So that's the first piece of why it's so important.
So help me out here. I'm definitely running in the middle of Jerusalem today. Very clearly. We've turned onto Hebron Road. Clearly in Jerusalem. When did this become start of Jerusalem? So we said it started off, it was going down the valley. originally, and then it kind of moved north and west where the old city is today. When did it start sprawling out this way?
So the interesting thing is that up until 150 years ago,
Yeah.
Jerusalem is only where the old city is. 150 years ago, the first neighborhood gets built outside of the old city walls in 1860. It's a Jewish neighborhood. It's financed by one of your countrymen,
Hey!
a guy named Sir Moses Montefiore.
Right.
And really this is going to be the beginning of the growth of Jerusalem in modern times, which still hasn't stopped.
So when we talk about King David's city, Solomon builds the temple and really, you know, make sure that it's the spiritual and central capital and political capital. But we're still saying that Jerusalem's pretty small. It's nothing near what it's like today.
Correct.
Small city, over there in front of us, what we can start to see on the horizon, but not really outside the city walls.
Correct.
So when does the first community outside the city get built?
Well, as I mentioned, in modern times,
Yeah,
1860.
1860.
But
Right.
even in ancient times, during the Second Temple period, when the Romans ruled here,
Yeah,
the old city walls were much bigger.
right, okay.
They expanded even further to the north. So that was at the time, about 2,000 years ago, during the time of the Second Temple standing, towards the end of the Second Temple,
Yeah,
which is ultimately going to be destroyed in the year 70 CE
right,
during the revolt against the Romans.
right.
And at that period of time, and for people who think about this, this is the time of Jesus,
Right,
okay? Or
for sure.
just after the time of Jesus. So that's when Jerusalem is at its height, and only in the 20th century is it going to start expanding and
Right.
become even larger than it was 2,000 years ago.
Right,
So for the last 2,000 years, again, after the destruction of the temple, Jerusalem is going to revert to being this backwater.
I see.
So much so that there was a period of time when these Muslims called the Mamluks ruled.
Yeah,
Jerusalem was like Siberia. They sent like administration officials who were out of favor
I see.
with the ruler to Jerusalem.
Okay,
The Ottoman period, which was 1517 until 1917,
yeah,
it's also not an important place. So you're on the edge of the empire here.
so really what we're saying is that it was a great city during temple periods, during when it was the Jewish capital, Israeli capital. And then it kind of disappears again. And then only 1860, we start the expansion, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is what we see right in front of us right now, coming up over the bridge.
You're right. The windmill that we see up there, that's part of that first neighborhood
Right,
built in 1860. And here we are. We see the old city walls.
right. So the
Right in
first
front of us.
community was literally built opposite outside, right there.
Exactly, just across the valley.
Okay, very cool. Hey Michael, running across this bridge, I can see this big ass tower, rock, black. What is that? What's going on here?
Well, let's stop and see. This is one of
Okay.
the amazing things, right, in the city is that you pass all these hidden gems.
Okay.
All right, so let's see what this is. What do these things look like to you?
Guns.
Good. Okay, you've been in the army,
Guns.
right?
Guns,
so you
yeah.
know what a gun looks like.
It's like guns.
All right, come over to this side.
Right.
What do these things look like to you?
Car wheel, maybe?
Well, let me ask you this. You ever do any farming?
No.
Are you related to any farmers?
No, I'm from London.
Do you know any farmers?
No, I'm still from London. I heard farmers. What are you talking
Have you
about?
ever been to a farm?
Yeah, I've been to a farm.
Okay, we got a good start. Any farmers out there? This is farming equipment.
Oh, I see.
So you know what we're looking at yet?
Yeah, the plough and the stuff. Right, I get it.
All right, good. But you know in big picture what we're looking at yet?
Big picture. We got guns. We got farming equipment. No.
Isaiah chapter 2, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not take up sword against nation, they shall never again know war.
You know where else this prophecy appears? It's inscribed
No, I'm still
on the
I don't know
UN
what
building
to
in New York.
do. Okay. And now, as per usual in Jerusalem, we're running up a hill. Oh, God.
Uh-huh. Oh, we are in the mountains.
Yes, don't we know it?
Would you like another little off the beaten path thing? That
If we can stop running up the hill, I would love one. What you got? You got something else to show me?
I have one of the most amazing sights
Okay.
to show you.
I'm excited, man.
And it's just like nestled in here in the middle of the city
Right.
between a modern building, which is like the Menachem Begin Heritage Center,
Uh-huh.
and a 100-year-old Scottish church.
Right. Oh, that's the most Jerusalem-like thing ever. Nestled between a modern one and a church.
And here we go.
Cool. Okay, I saw something there which is giving me clues.
So what we're looking at right now,
Yeah.
these are tombs
Okay.
in the first temple period. That means these are 2,700-year-old tombs that we have right here.
Wow. What was the burial process back then?
Right, so what you would have had is that all of these tombs that we're passing now,
Yeah.
these would have been covered. This would have been a cave.
I
Right,
see.
later on, it was all quarried out.
Yeah.
If you're a rich person living 2,700 years ago,
Right.
you are going to take your deceased, your beloved one, and at the first part of the burial process, you're going to take them and you're going to lay them down inside the cave. Come, I'll show you right here. This is a perfect example. Come follow me.
Okay, you're making me walk into a burial cave. Okay,
Yes,
this is
and now I'm
great.
going to make you lay
This is not
down.
what I signed up for, I'm telling you now.
See,
Now I'm
this-
going to lie down.
This is actually a headrest, so lay down on the headrest. Okay. Good, all right. And you see there are more headrests, so you could have had other people laying down here too.
I thought we were just running, man. I didn't
Oh,
know
no,
we were
now we're
lying
taking a
down
break,
in burial
right?
caves. Okay,
So-
this is great.
So they would have laid down the bodies here,
Right.
come back a year later, and brought them down into here,
What are we looking at?
into a repository of the bones.
So it's
Now-
really like a two-stage
Two-stage,
burial
right?
process, right?
Now, here's the fascinating thing.
Okay.
In the 1970s, an archaeologist named Gabby Barkai was digging
Right.
at this very spot that we are right now.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any money for the excavations, so he had like his,
His hammer and his chisel.
son and his son's friends who were helping him out.
Right, okay.
These are like middle schoolers at the time.
Cool.
And so
Love it.
these kids had this game where who could bring, the biggest hammer or screwdriver, whatever, to the archaeological site.
Right.
And what had happened
Yeah.
is that while all the other tombs here had been looted and raided over the years by tomb robbers,
Right.
this one, the ceiling had collapsed. And
Right.
it basically sealed everything underneath it. So if any tomb robber came here, they looked in, they thought that was the floor. Just like Gabby Barkai thought that was the floor.
Right.
Natan, though, had brought a hammer. He had won the game that day.
Right.
And he started smashing the floor. Okay, of course, what would you do at an archaeological site? You start destroying it, right? But it breaks through the false floor.
Right.
And it reveals this treasure trove of thousands of objects.
Right.
Clay, glass, silver, you name it. And one of the most incredible finds that he makes here,
Yeah.
and that has been made ever,
Yeah. What's that?
is this right here, which are they've actually found 2 silver scrolls, 2 silver amulets.
Right.
Written on them are the oldest biblical verse that's been written down in history.
Amazing.
2,700 years old, and it's the priestly blessings written on it, found right here.
Amazing. That's
In this
incredible.
little hole-in-the-wall place in Jerusalem. So these are actually blessings that Jewish fathers give their children every Friday night, right?
Right,
You probably
right.
give it to your daughter.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, just help me out here a second, because we did Mameluke period, Ottoman period, King David's period. I've gotten confused with my years, and Jesus was in there as well somewhere.
Yes.
So we said 2,700 years ago.
Yeah.
So who, what, where, what
That's
was it?
during the time of David's dynasty. So it's a little
Okay.
bit after King David, about 300 years after King David, but during his dynasty. So you still have the first temple standing
Right.
on Temple Mount in Jerusalem,
Okay.
and
So these would be Jewish
biblical times.
burial caves.
Yes.
Right.
At least at the beginning.
Right.
The interesting thing about these, they were used for about 1,000 years.
Oh wow.
So,
Incredible. And this definitely proves that we were outside the city, because no one buries their dead inside the city at that point.
Exactly. We are outside of the boundaries of the ancient city.
Right.
Bingo.
Okay, very cool. Okay, so you showed me 2 hidden gems, an amazing statue, and 2,700-year-old caves. Where are we going now?
Well, you should be recognizing this place that we're coming up to right now, right?
It is the runner's path of Jerusalem, definitely. Once we cross over the street, hold on. It's definitely the main Jerusalem runner's path, for sure. But I have kind of an inkling there used to be something else. Here we go. Because these always look like train tracks. I mean,
they are train tracks.
There's no train here.
And this is the old train station, Jerusalem.
Okay.
Old meaning.
Yeah, that's important. How are we talking? King David built the train. Like, what are we doing here?
Yes, we brought the steam-powered train.
During King David's time. Right. He's like what, 1,000 years before steam power? Yeah. Okay, fine.
Probably a little bit more.
More than that, actually.
So this is actually built during the Ottoman times. 1892 it opens.
Okay. So after the beginning of the expansion outside the old city, Jerusalem had expanded a little bit.
Correct. So it's already been expanding for like 30 years before this thing opens.
Right.
Which also goes to show you how much out of the way Jerusalem was from anything else. I mean, it's a one-stop train essentially. It goes from Jerusalem to Jaffa. Jaffa being the main port city for the land of Israel during the Ottoman period.
It didn't go to Tel Aviv?
Well, Tel Aviv actually began as a neighborhood of Jaffa.
Oh, I see.
In 1909. It later grew to overshadow Jaffa.
Right.
It still took about 3 hours on a train from Jerusalem to
Yes, viewers,
Jaffa.
This is the Middle East. Things take time.
However, if you were living here before the train opened in 1892 and you wanted to travel from Jaffa to Jerusalem,
Yeah.
how long do you think it would have taken you?
I don't know. 5 hours.
Double that.
10 hours.
10 hours.
10 hours.
So again, we're already at the end of the 19th century, and this place is still a major backwater.
Right.
Now, the truth of the matter is that already in 1850, you have a Jewish majority again in Jerusalem.
Right.
And then
1850.
1850.
Right.
And then starting in 1860, right, we already have the expansion that's going to start outside the walls. It's a very slow process.
Right.
And really, the main development of Jerusalem isn't going to happen until the British take over after World War I.
Right.
And
so just for some perspective, I get in my car today, it takes me an hour, not even, Jerusalem, Tel Aviv. It's pretty fast.
Or you can get on a high-speed rail and be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah, 30 minutes. It's not that far, guys. We're talking 70 kilometers, not that much. 10 hours. I suppose a lot of that was connected with that. Jerusalem is up a massive hill.
Exactly.
Right.
We are about, in Jerusalem, we are about anywhere between about 660 to 820 meters above sea level.
Right.
So we're well in the mountains.
Right.
But Tel Aviv, Jaffa, you're on the coastline there.
Right.
So you really have to climb up, up, up in order to get over here.
I see. So is the train ride significantly shorter going the other way, going towards Jaffa? Going down the hill? Did the driver just let off the brakes and off we go? So, cool, doing fun.
Yes. A very quick trip to your final destination.
Right.
your final thing.
So we're talking around 1900, 40 years before, and then 20 years afterwards is really when Zionism and Jews start moving to Israel and Jerusalem starts growing. This is what we're talking about. So we got the first area outside the old city, we got the train connecting the cities, and more people start to come, yeah?
Exactly. And this, I'm glad you brought that up about Zionism and Jews moving back to this land, which is really the first main waves are going to happen in the early 1880s. Okay, so we're probably across the street. We're talking about expansion, beginning of Zionism, the start of growth of Jerusalem. And now we appear to be, after Jerusalem has grown very nicely, because this street is amazingly beautiful. Has some more gorgeous houses out there. Yes, click subscribe to help get Michael and Daniel houses on the street.
On Rockevich Street. We want to have a house here, please. Although my
house?
Yeah, I know you have a bit of apprehension about living together.
Yes.
We have to start, we don't want to be greedy. Start with one.
Fine.
Alright. Okay, where am I in Jerusalem now? What's this area to my right?
Alright, so this is actually called the German colony.
Yeah.
Why? Because in the 1860s, there were these Germans called the Templars,
Right.
who had it with the church and the establishment, and they felt that their real mission in life was to help build up the Holy Land.
Right.
And so they came over here, and they actually set up little colonies in what's today most of the major cities in Israel. So they have one in Jerusalem, they have one in Haifa,
Right.
they have one in Tel Aviv area called Sarona.
Yeah.
So, and they actually were pretty important to the development of the industry here in the land of Israel towards the end of the Ottoman Empire.
You said you got fed up with the church though, so Zionists they're not.
Well, no, they Zionists they're not.
See, I'm here to ask the complicated question, guys. I'm here to make it messy.
They had no problem with Jews coming back and building up here.
Right.
But they were independent of the Zionist movement. They had relations with the Zionists, actually. And
that continued?
It continued until they all, or not all of them, but a bunch of them joined the Nazi Party in the 1930s.
Right.
And you can actually see pictures of Nazi flags flying in different cities here in the land of Israel. What?
So there was a Nazi following in Israel.
But look, this all goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning, right?
Yeah.
What brought them here? The Bible, the connection to the spirituality is what brought them.
That overlook where Abraham starts.
Exactly. And that's why Jerusalem's so important. But there's the second piece.
Yeah.
Which we started to talk about recently, which is talking about the Zionist movement coming back here. Why ultimately did Jerusalem remain important throughout the centuries? Because we came back here.
Right.
After the first temple was destroyed, 586 BCE, I mean, that should have been the end. Okay, Jerusalem had its glory day, great, done, gone.
Yeah.
Why did it continue? Because we actually came back here. And no other people has ever been exiled from their land and come back to establish their nation again in its historical homeland.
Right.
We've done it twice. And I think that's the other reason why this city is so amazing and so sought after and storied.
Right. So King David decided the Jewish political and religious capital is going to be here, and since then we've only just carried on growing it and made it what it is today, basically. And it's still growing.
And I love this area, what they've done with this today.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Developing the train tracks.
Yeah. Running paths throughout. It's really amazing. We've got electric buses now in Jerusalem. Really fantastic.
So I think what we're going to do here is we're going to turn around.
Yeah.
And we're going to head back up the train tracks.
Okay.
One last little uphill hurrah. Sound good?
Sounds great.
You guys with this?
Is there something waiting for us at the end? Exciting?
Why don't you tell me about it?
My favourite place in Jerusalem.
And here we go.
So, when we actually crossed over the street, there's a tiny blue juice stand, which I absolutely love. Fresh juices. There's almost no better way to end a run than get this gorgeous fresh juice.
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely fabulous. Love it. And as you can see, this is one of like the main running routes in Jerusalem.
הללו את השם כל גויים, שבחוהו כל המומים, כי גבה עלינו חסדו, באמת השם לעולם. Hallelujah. הודו להשם כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו להשם כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו להשם כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. הודו להשם כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו.
And we've arrived. Cheers, Michael. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you. And this is one's for you guys. Enjoy. That was a great run. We'll see you next time running around Jerusalem with Michael and Daniel. Thanks so much. Click like, click subscribe. Cheers.